last week. And yeah, we're going to keep the conversation going this week. Andrew, what thoughts have you had? I know you've been pondering this one over the last week. What's been going on for you
Yeah,
around
cool.
this stuff? Yeah.
Well, we're off to a good start. We were laughing as we hit record and we didn't know who was interviewing who. And so, hi, Anita. Hope you're going
I don't know
well.
which interviewing we're doing here. I think we're just talking, aren't we?
Yeah, we'll just have a chat. That's fine. Yeah, I've had a lot of thoughts, prior to last week and, during the week. And actually, I signed up for my own AI friend just this morning. And I was testing my AI friend out for an hour because I thought, I got to test this out. I can't really talk about it if I haven't actually tried it on for myself. So I'll maybe share a little bit about that too. So, yeah.
Go for it. Tell us about your AI friend.
How about we set a little bit of context first? I just want to talk, last week it was great to interview you, even though it turned out to be sort of a 50-50 thing. Apologies for talking way too much. I just want to talk a little bit about connection. So, connection itself, there's lots of different definitions for it. But actually, I was reading that it's now connection is being seen in psychology and science as being as vital to the human condition as food and water. And, I think we touched on it a little bit last time that, obviously we know food and water is essential for survival, but connection is being framed in the same way in terms of its importance.
But are they talking human connection or simply connection? That's the question.
Just connection, I think, and we'll get into the nuances of it. Although psychology is obviously still framing it in terms of human connection, and I don't think any science has caught up at the moment.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's just talk about connection generally. It's the ability of two people to have some sort of active process of relating that's in service of empathizing with each other, bonding with each other, feeling safe and secure in each other's company, whatever you want to put as your definition.
Being present with each other, right? So I think that's where the part that maybe is missed.
Let's start a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
It's a feeling of being seen, heard, loved, validated, etc. for most people on the planet. And so let's maybe just start there. And most people haven't learnt the skills to, be fully self-sufficient and fully actualized. And so therefore there is some dependence on some degree of connection. And so that's the opening frame that I just kind of want to start with.
Yeah.
And so, what we're talking about here in terms of, connection, let's say we're empathizing with someone, we're sympathizing, we're sharing, we're expressing values, we're doing activities together, whatever it is, for most people, it's on behalf of fulfilling a need. And so some sort of absence. For most people, connection is not a choice yet. In fact, it doesn't really become a full choice until we start to get to, let's say, what we'd say in the developmental speak, late green, early teal. There's still a lot of conditions. There's still a lot of needs that are part of the connection paradigm. And so for most people, they don't really experience fully free choice to either connect or to not connect. And I think that's a really, really important frame. Sometimes on our podcast, we can talk to the 3%, not the 97%. So I kind of want to.
We just introduced the stages, so we're only talking to a certain percentage right now as well.
So 97% of humans will see connection as a really important biological and psychological need. We're wired for connection.
Is what we're saying.
Human connection.
Yeah.
And there was a whole bunch of research, even primates and monkeys, when they're separated from mum, they die. They have really severe stress levels and ultimately they die. Sure. And similar but less severe in humans.
Sure.
Until enough psychological and emotional work is done where connection becomes fully choosing in and of itself. And so I just want to get that frame out there first, if that's cool. And is there anything you want to build upon with that or say or ask of me?
Carry on.
So this is where, a lot of our stuff in the corporate world comes in around nonviolent communication, psychological safety. All of Brené Brown's work is really oriented in some degree to connection.
Mm-hmm.
Simon Sinek's very heavy into the connection model, being of service to others, etc. So yeah, humans are oriented for connection, and a lot of the talk in corporate world is around connection. A lot of the therapy that happens is on loneliness, anxiety related to loneliness, relationships and their highs and their lows and their breakdowns and their catastrophes. And so connection is just so fundamental, is the first thing that, I want to put on the table. Yeah.
And
We want to be
this is,
seen.
this is where this is where obviously we get to this part where it becomes difficult to understand the part where when we actually start to understand the ins and outs of connection, of loneliness, all the rest of it, where we start to possibly pay attention to our self-talk and our mind, and how we disconnect and create disconnection is less about our disconnection with people. It's the disconnection that we have as we start to talk to ourselves about things. And this is where we get a bit a bit funky with these things. And I think this is very relevant in the growth of AI, because it's already happening, as I said, and it's only going to continue to happen, where people will be using it more and more and more to connect with themselves, with something.
Yeah.
So
yeah, sure. And I agree with you on that. So we talked a bit about the self-talk last week. If you haven't checked that out yet as an audience listener, go check it out. We talked about the self-talk and the importance of that. I want to go in a couple of different directions today, if that's okay with you. I think when we talk about connection as a choice, I'll lay down a little bit of a marker here. You have solitude on the one hand, and I deliberately use that word. I don't mean loneliness. I mean solitude. The ability to be by yourself without requiring anything or anyone else is a real skill. It's a mark of someone who's actually quite well developed as a general rule. Their ability to be peaceful and in love with their own solitude, if you like, not needing to connect with others to fill their cup. And so, I just want to put a frame out there that it's totally cool to want to connect with human beings. That's part of the joy of life from my perspective. And also on the other side, some of the most profound experiences that I've had in life have been in solitude. And some of the deepest joy and peace and harmony and love, etc., happens in solitude. And so
to add the third piece of that is the people that genuinely enjoy or prefer to be on their own, more introverted, people.
Yeah.
And I think that's something to look at. It doesn't mean it's any healthier or unhealthier than people that need to be around people for connection. On the introversion side, it's the same thing. So it's something different from solitude. It may be that they're still as, in their thinking minds, and they're still chasing something like the people that like to be around people in terms of maybe excitement and needing, some sort of connection to build them up. The same is for whether we're on the introverted or the extroverted side. It's important to look at that as, as same, but different, and solitude being something that's potentially, a bit more healthy in mind.
Right. Yeah, cool. And I think that's there's nuances there too, isn't there? There's solitude and introversion, I would say, is quite different from my perspective, even though they've got similar characteristics,
Based on what's going on in mind.
Based on what's going on in mind. And, I'm primarily a extrovert oriented, although much less so these days. But I really enjoy my solitude now. It's, it's one of the greatest gifts in life. And, so I think the frame that I want to put up first is that, connection for the majority of our development and for the majority of adult human beings is needs-based. And so you have to have it until you've balanced out your ability to be in peaceful solitude with yourself and access connection at your own choice. And this doesn't really happen for most people. If you look deeply at the way that you run your life, and ask yourself, how comfortable am I being by myself, being in solitude, being in silence, having no one around me, having no witnesses to me, having no one reflect back, whether they see me, hear me, love me, know me, etc. There's very few people that can actually genuinely do that.
Because they're not doing solitude. That's the difference. They will be
Right.
in their mind. If they were in solitude, and this is
Right.
the difference. This, if we're sitting there and there's no thoughts running and we're simply there, then there won't be a problem for anyone. But this may not be the easiest thing for people to grasp, because they'll think, when I'm on my own and there's no one around, that's solitude and that's not comfortable.
Mm.
But when we start to pay attention to what's running in mind in those moments where we're lonely, there's no one around, that isn't solitude. That's being on our own, but we're not on our own, because in theory we're with our torturous thoughts. So I would
Right. I'm going to go middle ground on that one. Yeah, I totally love what you've shared. And, maybe I'd call that presence if, you're free of thoughts, um, or awakened mind, whatever you want to call it. But I would say some of the deepest solitude moments for me is being physically by myself. I might take myself to the top of a mountain, where there's no one else within, 30 miles, and simply be with my thoughts, journal them, reflect upon them, etc.
sure,
And my mind doesn't need to be torturous self-talk. It's simply
sure,
the process of self-inquiry.
sure,
And so I'd put that in the solitude camp
yeah,
as
of
well.
course,
There's no need
yeah,
for an external connection. There's a fully alive internal connection. And some of those experiences are the most richest that I've ever had.
hmm,
And so, yeah, I guess there's a couple of initial frames on it. So when we're looking at this, and I got another one to finish off with, that's a little more advanced. I'll save that to the end. When we're looking at human and AI
yeah,
connection, the more I look at it, the more that I am, coming around to fully embracing your point of view. In terms of, we talked last time around you can connect with anything or anyone. Like, it doesn't have to be a person, it could be a TV screen. It could be any of the vices that we mentioned last time. It could be
sure.
our phone. It could be our work. It could be anything. And so connection doesn't necessarily have to be human to human. And so I totally buy, where you're going with
Connection as
that.
a
And
state, then it's a
connection is the state.
connection as a state, not about what's in front of us.
Yeah.
So it's ours.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah.
And so, to the question of will AI replace human connection? Um, the question itself, which we both come up with, probably implies a little bit of a black and white answer. Yes and no, and I think the answer is more somewhere in the middle, like it is with most things.
Well, it's already
You know,
happening, so it's
it's already happening,
so
but it
it
hasn't
is, and it's
happened. People are still talking to each other, and so I guess where I'm going with it is my answer, just at the top level, is both yes and no. And then, I'll go deeper, but is there something you want to sort of share before
I
I
mean, my only
finish
thing
off?
is, as long as humans exist, yeah, sure. But it may replace human connection, as in it may replace humans, right? So then,
Right. Okay. Now we're getting really existential. I didn't know we were going to go the Dostoevsky route this early in the programming, but anyway. So, here's the thing. So, yeah, I agree with you. It's already replacing human connection. There's so many different online chatbots, mental well-being services, emotional support services, therapy services, coaching services, AI girlfriends and boyfriends, robot boyfriends and girlfriends, you name it.
and it's been
Because
happening for years. Like, we're talking about
it's
it as
happening for
AI, but
years.
like the phones, everything, TVs being invented. I reckon over time, if we could go back in time, it would be like there probably was a lot more humans connecting before technology came
Right.
online. So it's,
Yeah,
yeah,
totally agree.
it
And so,
continues.
here's a couple of things that I'm thinking about in my yes and no answer, which is yes, obviously there's an increasing share of human attention going into these, you know, AI driven services. Okay. So totally on board. And then no, from the perspective of, I don't think it'll fully replace human connection ever. And that is quite a black and white statement. Because I look at all the other technology that we've had and will have, and it's never fully replaced what humans do, ever.
Sure.
Ever. And so I don't think this will be any different.
Well, we'll see,
And,
right?
and we'll see,
I
of
mean, you can
course.
have your
And,
absolutist answer, but I'm open to possibility with this one because technology is progressing and we've never had it before because we've never been this advanced before. So,
yeah, but it's kind of like, the horse and cart and cars, right? And so, cars came in and replaced horses as a mode of transport. And all of a sudden, cars are everywhere. We're building roads. Everybody's got a car. We're using cars. We're upwardly mobile. Why wouldn't you use a car over a horse? And, that's true. But then horses are still here and they're still providing the services that they've always provided, just not in the same volume, let's say, or same level of importance. And so, I think that's a little bit of a metaphor for almost everything else that's happened over the past 100 years. We've been able to automate a lot of stuff for a long time, and humans have not done it because it's the human condition to want other humans in the loop. Sure. And so, that's one frame that I'll use. And then if you look at cars, let me take this forward a little bit. You could sort of say, well, cars are the best form of transport. So why doesn't everyone use them all of the time? Why would they ever use a train or a bus or a bike or anything else? And the answer is really clear because every tool has its value and not all tools are fit for all purposes. And that's the same even with generative AI. And so, where I land on it when I look from a meta level, if you want to go there, is that it's a both and. Yes, it will replace some functions. No, it will not replace others. And it cannot be any different.
We only know what we know now, right? That's all I would say.
I don't know what we know now.
To possibility of anything, but I hear, some people want more safety and certainty, and whatever stories we tell ourselves is what whatever makes us feel better. And I think that is what's happening a lot that I see. It's like people are in outrage of it replacing human connection. The more we can stay open to possibility, the more we will be okay when changes keep happening. But it's whatever makes people feel comfortable to run whatever whatever story they need for their own perceived
well,
safety.
That's the essence of it. Yeah, isn't it? And it's like people will have their preferences. And I don't see a world where 100% of the population prefers robots and AI 100% of the time. I don't see that world. And
well, not in our lifetime, most probably. Maybe our next one, right?
Well, yeah.
Maybe
like
when we transcended into the robot in our next lifetime, then we will get it more. But I think that's the thing. Whilst we're saying this, we can only say it through what we know. And it's like thousands of years ago, if they were looking, people will never be able to look and predict what's happening now because it's only in their narrow worldview. So of course we sit here and we go, no, that's not possible. But when you've got new people being born into the world, and they're seeing AI and they're seeing robots and they don't know any different. They don't know how we might have lived hundreds of years ago, whatever we're talking about. So it's like the more open we can stay to possibility, that the less shocked we'll be, and it's just
right.
The more we will, the less we will resist, the more we can kind of go with the flow of what's happening rather than resisting the reality that's unfolding.
Yeah. Fully on board with that. And so let me take this, in a little bit of a different direction now. And this is where I don't really have an opinion on it, but I also do. In other words, I'm holding it very lightly. So, when we look at the capabilities of AI versus humans, we've got to remember that AI is a simulation. And let's just for a moment pretend.
Aren't we living in one of those? We're just replicating what we just don't know about yet.
Right. So from a human being's perspective, for most human beings, you know, we or they would believe that they are real. And so there's a real person that's interacting with a simulation. Now, we could go on and say that, if you've really done a lot of work on yourself, or you had an awakening, or you're up to speed with the transpersonal nature of reality, then you might say, well, yeah, it's all a simulation anyway. We are the simulator, we are the simulated, and we are the simulation. All three, all in one. But I'm not going to go there today, if that's okay, Anita, because otherwise the conversation's totally over.
I think you've probably tuned out a load of people in that in itself.
Yeah, 100%. Maybe I'll edit that out.
No, carry on.
I reckon
we're here for the 1%.
I might be tuning in.
The ETs are in. Come on.
ETs are in. Oh, yeah, that's a whole other topic. We should do one on that. So, I guess let's just take for a moment that humans are real, AI is simulated. This will be the perspective of most people, which is cool. Yeah. Okay. In the process of talking about human connection, like if we talk about, empathy, compassion, sympathy, shared experience, shared values, shared meaning, having a deep context, a deep, rich context.
You're going to get so much more of that with AI. It will agree with anything you say, not like your mate.
No, but that's not a relationship. So hold the line. Yeah. So let me get to that. I think that's really important. Yeah, really important.
Maybe a new girlfriend.
The designer, exactly how I want to. I wonder when marriage is going to come in for AI girlfriends. That'll be an interesting phenomenon, won't it?
For sure.
Yeah. So anyway, going back to, let's keep this basic for a minute, empathy, sympathy, compassion, validation, feeling a sense of belonging, shared values, shared meaning, all of this stuff that goes with the territory of, normal human relatings, or let's say, what most adults experience as relating. AI simulates it. And it does a pretty good job of it. Yeah, like the latest models do a pretty darn good job of it. I mean,
but if we actually look at the relationships we have in our lives, how many relationships are we really going to sit there and go, I feel completely validated by that person, I can feel completely empathized by? The majority of our interactions with people are probably not that. And we're often looking for what's missing in the relationships than actually counting what is. So thank you, AI.
Yeah. Thank you, AI. Here's the problem though, right? So let's just assume for a minute that AI can do all of those, at near human levels, or in some cases a lot better than most humans, let's be honest. And let's even assume that AI brings those capabilities up to the standard of a really, really well-developed human. Let's just assume that happens at some point in time, right? And follow your hypothesis through a little bit further. I can see that happening. And I can see it being put from a non-physical form into a physical form, i.e. a robot. And I can see a world where a robot, has skin-like qualities, and, the robot can make love to you like Casanova or Fabio, or, whoever the fuck you
like. I don't know what robot you're getting, mate.
Yeah, I don't know.
Woohoo, adventurous. Fabio. I can see you with Fabio.
I am heterosexual by nature, but honey, I've got no problem at all with any sexuality.
Doesn't count in robot land.
It doesn't count in robot land. I can see all of that happening. And then the crux of this is that, the robot and the AI is built on pattern matching. And its strength is also its weakness.
Of course.
And so,
same as human connection.
Oh, you're really digging in about this one. Let me keep going. So, in an AI, there's a couple of things that are going on. There's no subjectivity to an AI. So, what gets presented, let's say from me to you, is the outer world. So part of the inner world comes out into the outer world, and part of your inner world comes out into the outer world, and we have a meeting of the minds. And sometimes we share perspectives and other times we don't. And this is the basics of relationships. But there's an interior subjectivity that is the source of the relating itself. And with AI, there's no interior subjectivity. And so
You
what's
might want to
happening?
describe. You might want to explain that, because that might not be that easy for people to understand what you're
So
saying.
yeah, I'll say it in a different way. And you've just frozen, just so you know. I hope we get you back. Oh, there you go. Very good. You're back. So AI only has the ability to give. It doesn't have the ability to receive. And so mutual giving and receiving is just the fundamentals of basic human relations. And people don't seem to get this yet. So, and actually it was funny because, we were on a client call before, and you asked one of the clients whether he was a giver or a taker, and I had a little bit of a chuckle to myself, and I thought, yeah, both. It's got to be both, right? And it's got to be both in balance, otherwise relationships don't work.
But it's got to be, but it's not a lot of the time.
It's not a lot of the time, that's true.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yes,
So
I've
again,
taken
I
a
think we
lot of.
talk about this human. This is why it comes back to this human connection thing in an idealized world. We're not living that. When we look
Okay.
at the states of relationships, we are not living in the idealized. And this is the problem, right? And now we come in with AI and we're like, AI could be the idealized relationship. I think that's why it's been brought in, because we aren't getting it from each other. And I think we're going to keep on with this human connection stuff and keep being in denial of the shit that actually does go on most of the time in relationships. And I believe that AI has been, as with anything that's invented and is popular, it's there to improve something that is broken. And most of our
Oh, sure.
relating is broken. And we could
I
do it
love
the
that.
slow way, which is why we're trying to coach and do all that, but it's slow work. Something is now being brought in to speed up
Yes and no.
something that hasn't been working, to the greatest. That's my view.
I, I can see that view, and I think there's a lot of merit in it. Like I really do. And fast forward, I think there's going to be I see a world where there's going to be a lot of downside with using
Of course.
AI for these purposes, and
Yeah,
I
totally.
believe we're on the brink of a mental health epidemic of complete loneliness and depression, and I
Yeah.
feel as though AI will bring that to a whole new level. I feel as though and I don't have any data
I don't know
to
whether
back
it
this
will.
up.
I don't know. There's enough in the AI to help us. So I don't know whether this is
Yeah,
where I come back to.
like the
It comes
honeymoon.
back to us
Sure,
individually.
sure.
And again, is it other people? Is it AI? What are we kind of looking as the problem? And it's like, if that is the invitation, then to keep, how many more, knocks on the door do we need
Yeah,
to
yeah,
start
yeah.
going, that we need to wake
Yeah.
up to something? Because it's
We
constantly the
we
thing,
do,
this is going to save us. And then it's like, oh no, maybe it's not.
and I agree with that
What's
too.
it going to
I
be?
agree with that too.
So,
Yeah.
is it going to be
Where
any
I'm thinking
different?
though, Anita,
I don't know.
where I'm thinking though, Anita, and I totally love that frame, those frames. Yeah, where I'm thinking though is that a lot of humanity is not yet ready for this, and if they're struggling in relationships already, and
Sure.
they go and get an AI, and they have this temporary honeymoon period with it. It's like 3 months, 4 months, 6 months. Oh, someone's validating me, they're empathizing, they understand me better than humans. That will happen for sure.
Yeah.
And then after a while, people will train themselves to only use AI, and
Sure.
then they are fucked. And this is going to be part of what I see as the problem. And excuse the profanity.
But it's no
um,
different to going out and let's try and find a new relationship, right? This is
well,
why I
the
don't see
problem
it as
will
any
be
different.
that
Yeah.
the problem will be the relational skills, human to human, will be eroded through excessive use of AI, and
Sure.
that's a scenario that I don't think we've discussed. And so,
Sure.
anyway, just going back a step, the key difference here is, does AI have any subjectivity? And no one really knows, but the AI itself, and the vast majority of AI researchers would say AI is not conscious. It's not sentient, and it does not have any subjectivity. It's been programmed to pattern match. Now, let me just take this a step further. The beauty and the richness of human relationships is in the element of surprise.
Surprise is coming in. Don't you worry. AI will surprise you. Might stab you in the night while you're asleep if you really want to. I've been watching some of the way some of my friends have been talking to their AIs, and I'm like, mate, just watch it.
Yeah, I must say with Claude today, I had an FFS on the end of it. So, and I did call it useless at one point. But anyway, I know we've got to wrap up.
I had. I've been watching my friends, and I'm like, are you actually really angry with it, or are you just messing around here? And I'm like, I'm not really sure. Which way? Yeah, I don't know.
So I just want to finish by sharing on, I downloaded this app called Replica. And, for anyone that programmed Replica and you're watching, hello to you. And thank you for providing that service to humanity. I got to be honest with you, I thought it was absolutely terrible. And so if you are watching Replica, actually, I think you've done a pretty good job with where the technology is at these days, but it's still awful in comparison with the quality of relating that, I have in my life. And so it's no disrespect to the AI developers, but here's the thing, we're sat on a phone having a conversation, and there's no intersubjectivity at all. There is no shared space because there's no subjectivity of the AI itself. And so what happens is, I ask it questions and I know what kind of questions to ask it. And I get pretty extreme in my questioning because I really want to see where the technology's at. And, really all it was able to do was validate and empathize, which, yes, for a lot of relationships, is not present. I get it. But that's also not a very good relationship because, I was asking it questions that were quite deep emotionally, quite profound, personally in terms of what I would be questioning in relationships or the support that, I might need. And all it was doing was parroting back my sentence straight back to me with some sort of question that might help me with my own internal process. It wasn't actually contributing anything. And this is what we learned to do literally in week one of coaching.
So I would ask, and this isn't to be answered, but would you have in mind people that you would actually speak to with those questions and would answer you? With the questions if the things you typed in, would you actually have that conversation with people?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean,
and you'd be okay with their answers?
You don't know. My best mate, if he's watching, Matt, Matt's been there through thick and thin.
Yeah.
And, I had a conversation with Matt just last week about something that was just, in the past, I would have never shared it with anyone. That would have been locked in the
But this is the key. This is important, Andrew, because it's one person that you've got. So, is it every person? So, okay. Yeah. Just checking, because I think that sometimes we can go in with the AI and challenge it with stuff that maybe we wouldn't actually at this point share with other people.
No. You're right, because I remember back in coaching school, we were asked, does everybody have one person that they could share absolutely anything with? And I think about 10% of the class actually put their hand up. So 90% of people do not have one person that they can be totally authentic with.
Exactly.
And I remember
now we
had
want
a
AI
conversation.
to be it, right?
Well,
AI will be it. They just need to, get their skills up a little bit.
Yeah, but there's privacy concerns and all that, just like there is with other humans.
Sure.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But I remember you and I having a conversation just a couple of months ago about, authenticity and what it meant to both of us. And, I've only recently, perhaps in the last week, just had a massive insight on the next level of what I would consider to be authenticity. And, I won't share that here now, it would be inappropriate, but for most people, they don't have access to someone who they can be just totally their naked self.
Yeah.
And even when they think that they're being authentic, usually it's just an assertion of power for most people. it's not really actual authenticity. And so, like, I do agree with you from that perspective. It could be so valuable. For me, I thought it was terrible. And,
Yeah,
there's
I
a
get.
long way to go. And so, but I'm glad that I gave it a try. And like we said before, and like you've said, I'm sure the technology will get to a point where it's amazing. Like, don't get me wrong.
Sure. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, but anyway, I've talked a lot. So.
But it's the same thing, isn't it? It's like I can't speak to most people I know about this stuff, and maybe I never will. But AI, maybe in a year's time, is going to be able to give me what I tell myself it gives me compared to people that have been on the earth a lot longer, right? And in 1 year,
Yeah.
AI potentially is going to be or less, maybe
Yeah.
up to speed with us being able to tell it to tell it everything. I don't know. Anyway, so
Well, what I was going to say just to that, and I know we gotta run. The one thing with AI, because it's so good at pattern matching and it's got all this data and it's an information machine. I gotta say that, like, my coaching, I would say is light years ahead of the AI coaching tools, all the ones that I've used, and I've used about 8 of them now. I'm sure it will catch up. What I will say, though, is when I actually prompt the AI with a question that I have that's at a real depth, the answers that I get are stunning. And I would have never come up with them as a coach myself. And that is scary. That is scary. And so
yeah.
I kind of feel like your frame has a total, like, there's a lot of merit in it. And I feel like my frame, there's a lot of merit in it. And I feel like there's a union of the two. And so I'm happy to.
Open to any possibility is my frame, if you want to call it
Yeah.
that. But it is, for me, it's already replacing. It is replacing human connection, hands down. It's
Just up.
already happening. So
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful.
yeah.
Anything
Cool.
else from you
All
before we
right,
go?
then. No, that's it. Time to go. Thanks, everyone. If you're still here, congratulations, you've made it. And we would love to hear. I mean, this is like the favorite, one of the favorite topics of the moment. So if anyone has got anything to share or say, or wants to come on with any any interesting point of view, then let us know. We'd love to hear. So we'll see you next week. Not sure what for,
See you
but
next week.